Simon Rasmussen, thank you so much for coming to Something Creative and just having a chat. I'm a big fan of your work for many years. It's not just the aesthetics, it's also the energy of Office Magazine. It is important in the culture. It's not overly stuffy. But it also, I don't know how you would describe it, but in my opinion, it takes aesthetics and creativity seriously. It doesn't necessarily take itself super seriously. How would you describe it?
I think that's a really good way to describe it. When we started out, we had we didn't have any rules. That was the one thing. No rules. The only rule that we made was that if Vogue would print that image, it wasn't for us. So like what we wanted to do was like to create something that were out of the ordinary. Like I think one of the buzz sentences we used were an unorthodox approach to fashion. We wanted to highlight diversity, inclusivity at a time where those weren't the buzzwords.
Of course not.
Like
yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Everything was like posh and glamorous and exclusive, and we're like, fuck that. Especially coming to New York and moving here and living here, we were like, but that's not like, we wanted to create something that was like smelled and felt like New York City. And I feel like especially in the beginning, that was like our thing, like just looking at that, like what is New York City to us? That's what Office was. It still is.
And how do you keep that energy fresh? How do you keep that momentum after years and then get invited? You kind of get invited. You get invited to the cool kids club or something. So how do you keep it fresh?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if you do. You evolve, you develop something, and I think now there's other people other creatives who has taken that place from us, and I'm cool with that. I did want to move Office in more into the middle lane. We were out here. We're in the right lane. We're like almost crashing. Like let's go into the middle lane a little bit. Not like the middle lane, but like definitely a little more safe. We did a lot of things that got us banned here and there. And
really?
Yeah, we had like some naked covers. We had some dicks. We had some asses. We had this and that. Because we believed in that. We believed in like, and I still believe in creative freedom. But when you fully express yourself like that, it just has certain consequences on a commercial level that, I'm also running a business.
How do you know when an issue is done?
It will depends on the theme. It depends on like the idea from the jump. Depends on a deadline as well.
Of course. That's what I always tell people. I'm like, well, there's money, there's time, and there's creativity.
Huh.
We have to figure out where this project lands.
Yeah.
So with every issue, is there ever a moment well, let me take it off Office for a second. Yeah. When you go to shows, when you see fashion, when you see art, when you see creativity, when you see photography, how do you keep your eyes fresh?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know if I do. I think I am somewhat jaded. I think I am somewhat fatigued by all of this, all of the images, shows, like all of those things. Like it takes a bit more to get me excited now. I think I'm a better business person now. So when I get things when I can see like this is good, but this is not good. And then there are moments where I'm like, I don't care if it's good or bad. Like I love it. So I think it's a balance between all those things. And I mean, enough sleep and eating well, exercising, that's a good start of like keeping myself like fresh and like present. I think like if I can stay present, then I have a good chance of like figuring out what do I like and what's cool and what's not.
I think of it oftentimes as, I'll be honest with you, seriously, I don't care about cameras. I always say little confessional stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I've always kind of operated on my own, as way back when I was a graphic designer, and I would make projects and try to get them sold or get them inside of Surface Magazine or something like that, or Dutch, or something like that. Like try to, obviously reject it all the time, but still, And so I would try that to get in there, and then it was like, fuck it, I'll do my own thing. I'll start art projects of my own. Me and my friends, we start these we're everywhere from like shitty test photography to like got better and better and better and better. And then one day, a friend of mine and I started a small publication, which is it's some degree of, I think it's cool, but I don't know if everyone thinks it's cool. I don't even give a shit. But it's I've always kind of looked at others as that's cool, that they are doing that. As a creative director, I would look at like Fabian Baron, like that's where I think I want to go. Patrick Lee, that's where I think that guy understands typography. You don't know shit, or something like that. Does it ever a feeling for you feel like you've made it, or you in the club now, or are you still outside the club?
Sure.
Is there a club?
I don't know if there's a club, but it's more like a metaphor. Mm-hmm. Like I hear what you're saying. First, I want to give a shout out to Jason Ferrer, who did a story for Dutch magazine in is it early 2000s?
Which one?
He did this story with these like really cool
Puerto Rican dudes?
Huh?
The Puerto Rican dudes?
Yes.
Okay, first of all, that story is on everyone's vision board. I don't think...
It's been on my mood board forever.
I don't think that... I was just talking about it. I don't know if you know... Jess Corvus.
Of course, yeah.
We were just talking about that. How it's on people's mood board for 20 fucking
45 years. Like, I mean, it's crazy.
How is it that is something that's not...
I'm getting goosebumps.
That I know. I think about that. I think about it. I think about the photography. I think about the last shot, almost like the Spilly Lorca de Corsia meets Caravaggio lighting of like, and then you see this little penis in one of the last shots.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, like when they're looking out the window in the one of the last shots. It's incredible.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. And the idea that it's still on people's mood boards, the idea that people still... I can still see the reference now where people have looked at it.
It's the reference of the reference of the reference. Yeah. Jason Ferrer, brilliant stylist. So ahead of his time. I want to give a shout out.
Very cool.
But back to the club, being in the club, not being in the club. I definitely didn't see myself as part of the club for many, many, many years. But I do understand now that I am invited to the shows in Paris, and more than often I do sit on front rows. So even if I would like to be like, oh, I'm not in the club, I'm in the club. Yeah.
And what is that experience like for you? Does it feel like, look at me, I'm hot shit? I'm joking. I don't know if that's true.
No. I mean, I don't know if it's that.
What does it feel more like a business? Like I remember when I moved to New York, I would see the tent shows, and I'd be like, oh God. So I'd volunteer on 7th on 6th, work at the tents, just to be a part of it. I didn't want to be in fashion. I just wanted to be in the system somehow.
Yeah.
And when I went there, I realized, oh, it's a business. And these people are taking notes. These people are writing down stuff. They're not just here. And I think that's totally lost now.
Yes.
For the most part, good or bad. I don't fault this era we're in, and I don't think it's negative. But I look at it as like, well, this is really, people are working. No wonder I'm not fucking invited to this. They're working. I have nothing to do here.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
No, I mean, I feel you. For years, I was not invited. I snuck into the shows. I think one of my biggest accomplishments was I somehow, some way got into a Comme des Garçons show. I kept coming, and they always like, you don't have an invite, you're not invited, you're not on the list. And I faked names. I was like, oh, I'm this and this from that and that. For real, And then at some point, I think the guy, maybe he was like, oh my God, this kid. So I don't know, and just like at the end, like they were just about to like close the doors, the show was about to start, and I just ran in. And I watched the show, not from the actual catwalk, but there was like a stairs. I went out on some stairs and watched it, and I was like, I made it. I made it. And like, to me, was a bigger accomplishment than actually getting the invite. You know what I mean?
I think that there's something you kind of said that's kind of implied, and I don't want to gloss it over. You came back. You came back. You came back. And you had the balls. You weren't just like, oh, Jason, if you don't mind, do you have any wrong? No, you were like, hey, I'm here. I'll try again. I'll try again. Where does that audacity come from?
I don't know if I should go there, but real talk, I'm doing some inner family work right now with my inner child, inner teen, and critical parent, trying to be a loving parent to myself. And that audacity comes from growing up with a mom not setting boundaries, amongst others. I think I'm overly ambitious and driven and stubborn and little bit crazy, and that combination without any boundaries, I just like, what are you talking about?
Were you hard to work for?
I don't know. Sometimes, I think I think for some I might be really hard to work for. I think for others they've claimed that I'm the best boss. So I don't know. I think it's up to the individual.
I know. Sometimes I know what you mean. We come from different worlds, but I know, like, I lead a creative team, and different people need different things.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm able to try to give them different things. Sometimes I'm mean daddy. Sometimes I'm encouraging mommy. Sometimes I'm just a calendar-driven person. Where is this? Where is that? Other times I'm a finance-driven person. Stuff like that. And I think that with some of those personalities, they really click.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't play favorites. I have to. I really, and I don't literally have favorites, but I think that some of them just kind of work a little bit more in sync with each other.
Yeah.
And everything. So I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And I think to someone that is not driven by certain things that I need, whether it's timing or exactness with money or anything, we don't have always a very successful relationship because I need certain things from them. Like, I come from, just, you get to know me a little bit, a very wholesome, loving, almost cocoon of a family unit, So the outside world to me was a harsh light of reality. Well, people aren't that nice. And so I think that was, that's been my inner growth and learning. We spoke a bit ago about you mentioned your exactness, and sometimes being if you're stubborn and being exacting sometimes with it. How do you find room for creativity within that space?
I think this stubborn is more like has to be great. That kind of stubborn. It has to be exciting. It has to be like inspiring. It has to do something.
Well, how do you push people to that when at the end of the day they want to go home? How do you encourage?
I think that happens before that. Like, that's not like, even you're in the moment. If it's not there, it's not there. Then let's just get it over and go home, because that will never happen then. And the idea is, and the concept, and like the strive for something amazing has to happen way before that. Yeah.
Do you ever get nervous about anything?
Definitely, yeah.
What do you get nervous about?
I was nervous today before going here, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I always talk about, every single person asks about that, because I have such, I think, jittery nerves. Maybe I drink too much coffee. Maybe I don't know what, but I'm always like, oh my gosh, Then I recently, I'm no pro at this, but I recently started like indoor rock climbing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not great at it, but a friend of mine, this really good creative director named Simon, it's like, it's super French. You have to go with me, back to me, you have to go. So we go up the thing. I start panicking halfway through. I look down, like, oh my God, I don't see an option. I don't feel an option, and I'm freaking out, and I feel like I'm going to fall, and I feel like I'm going to fall and die, and everything is happening. Then I realize that I have to breathe through this, and that is what I honestly, and I am a total newbie, at this indoor rock climbing thing. But it is, I'm always searching for that calmness within a panic moment. That one time it was yoga for me, another time it was boxing and stuff like that. So it's always this moment of how do I navigate this? Take a breather, realize no one's going to chop your legs off. Just go forward. Even if you're not sure, just go forward. Just go forward. That's always been a kind of creative thing for me, to push that. Oh, when you think about collaborative energy, whether it's with Office or anything else, what do you look for collaborative partners?
A point of view. I think like ideas, a point of view, something that drives them, something that where I feel like, oh, they're onto something here. And I try to lean into that, and collaborate with that, see where we can where my stuff can link up with their stuff. I think that's, yeah. And the energy, and also trying to connect with the person, trying to find something that we can connect over and be at peace with each other. Like you can't collaborate with someone if you're not vibing. If you have a disagreement, that's super hard too.
It's hard, and it's a lot. Always say from my mind, it's is it a crush or is it a love affair? Like, is it something that can you really sustain this relationship past the 2 weeks of, oh, you're great, I'm great, you're great, or is this something that let's work together, let's do business together, let's be creative together, things like that.
100%. Like there has to be something in them that turns you on. Their imagery, their craft, their ideas, their personality, something where you're like, I fucks with them. That's hard. That's hot. That's beautiful. That's something that I would like to be part of.
How is the role of a business, if someone runs a business, how do you find your boundary lines? Creativity, business. You can't make a solid gold cover because it's just not a sustainable business structure. So how do you find those? Then you deal with such great creatives that may bust out your budget for certain things. So how does that work with you?
I mean, it's really interesting because I spent many, many years being driven solely by the creativity and by the ideas. 100% passion, 100% let's fuck it up. Let's create something that fucks with people. And whether you like it or not, you're going to have an opinion about it. And then a year ago, 2 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, I was like, shit, this is too hard on the business side. So now I'm leaning in more and more to the business side. Still creative. But I think for me, the balance has to be, because I'm a creative first, I have to lean more into my business side of my brain or whatever, of my craft.
How does music or art play a role in your outlet? Does it push itself into your brain and kind of come out in a different way? Or performance or dance or anything, being in New York City, where do you draw inspiration?
For me, it's an all-encompassing thing. It's not just music or not just art, or it's not just I love homeless people. I know it's probably not a good thing to say, but that the aesthetics sometimes is super inspiring. Or the people selling fake merch on Canal Street, there's that energy. Or the original gangster up in Harlem with his pink suit or whatever, and the hat, all those things that are has nothing to do with fashion but everything to do with fashion.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know how you're trying to not say the wrong thing. I totally, because I lived in the Bronx for a brief period, and there's an aesthetic of how do I say this? I don't give a shit. All right, I can edit it or whatever I want. There's an aesthetic of people. There's a bootleg global waste aesthetic. Okay, where you're going to get you're going to get a Kamala for President t-shirt and polka dot Adidas sweatpants and a bootleg off-white belt, because it's a part of the global waste system. It's a part of fashion. It's a part of fashion waste. It's a part of everything. And it's all kind of coming back in this funhouse mirror version of wealth. And I think that is something that I see a lot in areas that people disregard as, or people disregard as they're not important. Oh, let's give them a bunch of T-shirts from the Obama thing, or Save the Children T-shirts or whatever, and so they become, either ecological refugees of something, right? That, and then you're looking at that. Like I remember there was a not a blog, maybe it was a blog. There was, first of all, a few of them. There was a blog about like Japanese homeless people's style aesthetic that was since canceled.
Yeah. I think there was a book. I've seen that.
Maybe so.
I've been to Tokyo.
Oh.
Seen the homeless people there.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah.
And then there was another one which was like about Syrian refugees, about hot guys. And I'm not saying that that's the nicest thing to do. What I'm saying is that there's something in our culture that's responding to this the way humans are being thrown away. And then what these, quote, people take of the world is. And it may be just about warmth. It may be just about, it's about warmth. It's about access to health. It's about access to safety. But it's also, when you look at what we are digesting and throwing out, there's an overarching statement in there, I think. Like, have you ever looked at the website called Dead White Men's Clothes? It's a website that's dedicated to the recycled clothing that we put in bins and stuff like that. And it's bullshit. It's not. It's ending up like in a landfill in Africa, or it's ending up in the beaches in Africa, washing up in like these huge tumbles. It's disgusting. And goats are eating it and then burning it and stuff like that. We don't need any more clothes, right? And so the website itself, it's not a fashion website. So like, this is disgusting, look at this type of website. But it's just an interesting space that we're in where, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I think that like, as much as companies try to say, oh, we're about sustainability, I always know it's bullshit. It's 100% about bullshit. If Chanel's about sustainability, they would just not produce. That's the only thing they can do, is just not produce anything. They don't have to produce vegan bags. They don't have to produce anything. Just don't produce. And that's not what their business is about. And that's the reality of it. So when you are, sorry, that's usually digress. When you are, where do you feel like your eye is the sharpest? Is it fashion? Is it photography? Is it layout? Is it design? Like, where's your sharpest? Or is it business? What's your sharpest part of your eye?
I think I have a good overview of things. I think I'm good at all of those things. And that's probably why I do what I do, is not just that one thing. I don't think I'm like super like, I don't care enough about this tiny little details. Let me zoom out and let me look at the different elements, whether it's a combination of photography, music, fashion, the subject, the culture we're in, the movement. Like, I think I'm better at that, of zooming out a little bit and looking at it from a little, as someone watching it a little tiny bit, and not fully engaging with all of like any of those things. That makes sense.
Totally. Do you feel like there's a time frame on that? Is there an expiration date for having that level of expertise? Or does it get stronger as we get older?
But it's interesting, because for a moment I was like, fuck, like, can I keep up with this? Is this something that I can continue doing when I'm plus 55, or will the business just retire me, just naturally, push me out? And I have come to understand that I'm really good at what I do, and that not a lot of people know how to do what I do, that I'm an expert and really good at it. And of course, I can get insecure and like like, oh my God, someone is faster than me. They're da 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 da. They're younger. They're smarter. There's more talented. There is. Those exist for sure, of course. However, when I work with young people, I also see what they lack, and I have that.
I look at it like I find that life has given me a quicker, quicker vision. I know immediately. You don't have to finish the sentence. I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying to say. I know where we're gonna go, and I know how to fix it. Like so, sometimes like when people bring up creative ideas, I am really maybe to my own fault. Okay, I got it. I got it. I don't need to hear anymore. I got it. I got it. No, I got it. Yes, it's a great idea. Yeah, without fully, even mentally listening to it. But then I also think about the mind is we're older than 25, you know, uh, as a creative people. I think of it as the way I look at Martha Graham, you know, she didn't need to get out there and dance anymore. She did, and she could have, and stuff like that. But I think that your brain is that asset, your eye, your brain, and it only gets more fine tuned. As long as you stay engaged, you can't be someone that's like, I remember years ago, many moons ago, I loved fashion illustration, and I would be in these classes with these old school fashion guys and old school New Yorkers, and I would try to bring in stuff like Mats Gustan, and they wanted like Antonio Lopez, which is amazing, but that's the era that they were stuck in. Like, didn't want to hear anything else. And they would be like, "Where's the glamour? Where's the glamour?" And I always said to myself, I never want to be that. But as long as I'm open for it, and I can still articulate it. So the way I look at you is that it only gets stronger and bigger and better no
Well,
matter anyway.
well, I gotta allow it to happen as well.
Yeah.
I gotta allow myself to keep evolving and growing as a person and stay connected to society. If I moved to, I don't know, an island or a forest somewhere and like shut off the internet, which I sometimes want to do, it would be hard for me to continue creating a magazine that's culturally relevant, of course.
What do you do that's not outside, that's totally not related to this? What's your hobby outside of this world?
Well, I was just upstate actually at a men's retreat. I was doing an emotional release retreat.
What was that?
Amazing. I loved it. I do a lot of that kind of stuff.
I was speaking to Jordan a while ago about microdosing with therapy and seeing how that is. Sorry, we were talking about it. And well, for me, you know what I'm saying? And so like, so did you have breakthroughs on that, or it's still a work in progress?
Yeah. I mean, it's always a work in progress. It's always different iterations of it. We have so many layers to unfold, and it's not a one hit thing. It's a finite number of layers you can go through, but there's a lot, and it's a constant journey, and some of it takes decades.
I'd like to get that information.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay, tell me, where does Simon and an Office start? Are they the same thing?
No, they're not the same thing. They're very close, but Office is an iteration of me. It's a version of me. I did started with two other people, so it's also versions of them, and I think it's our child. But me, Simon, I'm not Office. It's bigger than me. Yeah.
And Simon, what are your influences? I mean, if you think back to young Simon, teenage Simon.
It's a big question, but I'm a lot of things. I'm definitely a child. I was born in 1980, growing up the 80s and 90s with with those influences of both the Danish influence, but also the pop culture of America influence, and then moving to America has heavily influenced me. And growing up in the childhood that I had has influenced me a lot. I've always been very curious. I've always been very open-minded, and wanting to see more and go new places, and wanting to fall in love over and over again, and I wanted to be part of things. I wanted to be part of this club over here, this club over there, and not. I have a hard time settling just for anything. I've always had a hard time grounding, just staying put. Last year, I didn't travel for like 3 or 4 months, which is something I hadn't tried in over 20 years. Just staying in New York for that long, not going on an airplane for like, I think it was 4 months. That's my record for like at least 20 years. And for others that are in the industry, they know you're always traveling. And I was like, wait, let me try not to travel. It is very privileged.
Tell me,
but it's true.
I just have a little nerdy question to ask you. What's your travel vibe? How do you travel? Like, what's your must-have when you get on? I have mine that makes my life not feel crazy. I have a certain way I like to do things. How do you pack? Do you not bring lace-up shoes? Do you only do global access? Do you have to do business that lies down flat because you're tall, or do you not need like an aisle seat so you can like pee like 40 times a flight like me? Like, I'm just curious how other people do stuff.
Oh, I mean, I would love to fly first class every time, but I don't.
But there's not always. There's not.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't have to be. It can be like now. There's like La Compagnie, where it's all flat, but it's not first class. It's a whole. So anyway,
I know.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
I think, I mean, it's about, I go into this zone. I like to travel alone, to be honest. And I go into this zone where like I prepare for the journey throughout the day, like mentally, so that when I sit in the seat or lie down, I'm ready for it.
Really?
Yes.
Are you an early to the airport person?
No, I've missed so many flights. I'm better now.
My anxiety could never handle it.
I'm better now, but you have no idea how many flights I've missed.
I've only missed one flight my entire life.
Yeah, no.
I miscalculated the travel on the highway. But I am someone that I'm a good packer, because I go away. Because my mother lives pretty. I go to my mother's house sometimes, pretty often. So I know how to pack with my eyes closed. So I'm a really good packer. I am not good with pre-buying anything, because I always think, never know. You never know if work's going to call you in late. You never know if you want to do something in the city. So I'm very much for flight 2 to 3 days before.
Yeah.
For a train, the day of. Like literally when I get to the space, that's when I'll go to Maryland and DC and stuff like that. But I am also someone that if I decide in my mind that, okay, this is going to be a shitty, short, cheap, and cheerful trip, I will get the back seat by I don't always have to be posh. I'll get the back seat by the bathroom and just hold my bag like on my lap and not get one drink, not get one, because I'm in this mental zone, and I'll just think, okay. And I've done that to LA, like this last minute trip I had to do for LA, and I was like, fuck it, I have to go. And so I like just sat in the chair like this and did not look at the video. I was just in the zone the entire time. And that's it. Just curious how. I'm sorry, it's a diversion.
No.
I'm just curious how people are.
I'm a good packer for sure. Yes, I can pack. I'm not good at being early. I'm not. I'm also like book my flight very late. And there's one rule I have: I don't eat on airplanes. I might bring a sandwich if it's a very long flight. I'll bring nuts. I'll bring a protein bar, or like some other like an apple, things like that. But I never eat, because it's shit, and it's not good for you, and it fucks up my stomach every time. So I'm like, even if it's a 12-hour flight, I don't eat I don't. I might say yes to it or even say no to it. I might say yes to it to like grab the like cracker or like something if I'm really hungry.
I have somewhere in my brain that I don't overly ask for anything because I think to myself, if it really goes down, I don't want to be annoying to the flight attendants. And so somewhere in my brain tells me, maybe they'll like give me an extra thing to get out of the plane or something like that. Somewhere in my brain, I think they're not gonna give it to this jerk. They're gonna give it to the person who didn't ask them for that Diet Coke or something like that. And then I also pay attention to the little emergency talk every single time because I think that, and then mentally, I remember I watched like some special on like, okay, sometimes if a plane goes down, you might be upside down, so you'll be very disoriented. So count the seats in front of you or behind you. So I always count to know. Like I would remember this in the melee, but like I count how many seats I can touch if I'm blind, if I can't see, if there's too much smoke, to get to the emergency exit. And by the way, I do that in my apartment too. And so every apartment, which by the way, I move like every year, every 2 years, I know how to escape blindfolded. So anyway, I digress on that.
I do. I have a thing when I try to meditate as we land. I like to like land like peacefully. And then I'm ready to like, because when you land, it's like, I want to go. That's how I'm like, go, let's go. And then it's always like half an hour before you like sit on the thing and I'm like, ah. So like my thing is like, okay, let me meditate as we're landing. So I arrive peacefully, calm, and I'm more patient and I have more time. Feels like.
A last question about travel. When you go to these shows, yes, sitting first, what do you do with all these fucking invitations? Like they're now like they're objects. They're big. Is it just more shit to carry?
Yes, I throw it out.
You throw it out.
Yeah,
Some of them, they're sending pipes. They're sending like.
I've saved some.
Okay.
But I have heard like purged like so many times now that I'm like, okay, that's one of the things that I just throw out in the end.
Just
so I'm
curious.
like, now I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna keep it.
I'm just curious. What are all these like massive produced invites? Where do they go?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like it's worth like I've sold some invites if they're actually worth something.
Yeah.
And people want them, and I'm like, sure, if someone wants to pay for it, you know.
I don't want to put you in an awkward situation, but what's the most momentous? Well, you mentioned the Comme des Garçons show. That was it. That's the show that kind of like blew your mind, right?
That was definitely one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know. Like, I think you told me that was one of them. What else blew your mind visually? It don't have to be a show. It could be a performance. It could be a concert. It could be what has blown your mind that you're still recovering from.
I mean, I'm lucky. Sure. You know, I get to attend some of the greatest fashion shows on earth, and where like the production is like millions and millions of dollars. Like, and I've done that for many years now. So I just feel very blessed and lucky to be able to take part of that. You know, definitely. But I think with like, if I want to put a moment forward with Office Magazine, like when we launched issue 10, I felt like that was like a moment. Was like, oh, okay, we're on to something. We're not there yet, but we're on to something.
Do you feel like the culture had to catch up with you, or you met in the middle?
It was probably a combination. Okay. I think definitely would think that we were first movers on certain things. Can't take credit for the entire world moving in that direction, but we were definitely first movers on a lot of things.
When you think about your future or the future of Office, what are you most excited about?
I'm excited about the business of the magazine and to form that better, to shape it better, make it more sustainable. That's something that has come to me recently, that I'm leaning into that side of myself more and more, and I'm really excited about it. It really like gets me up in the morning and gets me going and gets me like inspired to like do things in a way that feels like it feeds that. Still staying true, and I think there's something about like staying true to the DNA, like years after years after years after years. I love that about other creatives, whether it's a fashion brand or a stylist or a photographer, where they develop, but they have something where it's like you can always point it out. It's always them, and I love that. And I'm like, as someone who's been in the industry for plus 20 years, I'm like, if I can do that, if I continue to like keep that core, that's a huge accomplishment of not just being like selling out or not just giving up, just trying. And that's, for me, that's also the future, staying true to that.
I totally understand that. I remember I was speaking to someone earlier today about how, I mean, I always say I was buried in the suburbs growing up. I'm from a very suburban area of Louisiana and Maryland and everything. And so I would see New York in the future. Like, oh my God, this magical city. How do I get there? I would look at magazines and look at like the masthead, like who is this? And study everything.
I feel that.
And then I would really, there was a certain point in my life where I could look at like an editorial and like I could almost just name the entire cast of characters, the crew, without even seeing it. Then I'd check it and I'd see how right I got on it and everything, because I would be like, okay, this is the type of publication that would have this type of stylist, and this type of stylist is pulling this type of clothes. So I can look at the collections and tell that this is that, this is that. So that's that signature, that personification of a brand is so important. Like if I invited Office to a dinner party, would she come late with a broken Birkin and have a broken iPod, a cracked iPod, but then be the best guest sitting next to me? Like that personification of who that's how you build it, and that's what it is. It's like it's unmistakably, it's not Vogue, clearly. It's not a competitor. It's not anything. It's in its lane. That's really hard and successfully done by you.
Yeah, I remember.
You all.
I remember. I think you were sharing that. I just remember when I was around 20 years old, 21, 22. That's when I first found fashion. That like fashion magazines. I went to this store in Copenhagen.
You remember the magazine?
No, but I just remember the store and like picking up the magazines, one by one. The Vogue, the French Vogue. French Vogue was then really important back then. With all respect to US Vogue, that was kind of like not that important. There was Dutch Interview as well. Was cool. Well, a lot of the Purple, Dazed, ID as well. Like in all those UK publications was like super hardcore, really, really good.
Pop. What's that?
Popeye?
The Pop.
Or Pop.
Popeye, yeah.
Oh, that's in Japanese. Pop, yes.
Yeah,
Pop was cool
out.
too.
Yeah.
And there was a lot. And I used to, maybe we're going to cut this out, but like I used to steal them because I couldn't afford it. So I just grabbed like 5 magazines. I just walked out of there. And like, but that's how I learned about fashion, exactly like that. I would like look at the stories and like check out the credits, look at the masthead, like whoever like the stylist, and like, see like, okay, so that stylist like always does this. This photographer, it's a little bit different, but that thing repeats over and over again. Whether they shoot for this magazine or that magazine, there's like that's a link.
I would love, like, I remember even with starting, Crush is a different business model, everything with my public, I do it, Nicholas, not my publication. Nicholas and I share it. He's in Paris, I'm here. We got Printed Matter. Mm-hmm. We would get letters from people from prison saying, when is the next one coming out? And I would be like, holy shit, that's really cool. That this guy's like jerking off on something on our thing. Or we would once in a while. It wasn't me. It was a friend of mine. It was like somebody would steal pages out of there. I was like, that's the best compliment ever. You mentioned stealing. I remember getting thrown out of Rite Aid for staying there too long, looking at the magazines when I was like,
It was expensive. Like, what the fuck?
anything. And remember, I remember when Harper, I didn't know what it meant. Because I didn't know what it meant. It's funny, like I didn't know what I know. I don't know what I saw, but I knew something had changed with Harper's Bazaar. And I'm talking about grocery store checkout is my access to fashion magazines. And this is the Fabian Baron era and Liz Tabarez era. And I remember thinking something's different, but I can see it. I remember seeing. I remember I couldn't even focus on what it was. I remember the Linda cover, and I think that told me. I think I know. Figured I was gay. There's something bigger than me out here, and I want to touch it somehow and get there somehow. Because I looked at it as, how the hell did they figure that out? More so than it just seemed like everything else blurred around it. And I saw that as this crystal clear version of the future.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And it was this untouchable thing that I couldn't figure out. And so it still excites me to this day. And I think that still keeps people on different parts of the bullseye. You know, fashion's a very big business. You can start with the editor-in-chief of American Vogue and then circle it out from there, whatever that is, if you're thinking of it that way. And even down to an intern that manages the zipper buys for upcoming fashion. They all are radiating from this honeycomb of access. And I think that it's still enticing to me. Art, fashion, expression, things like that.
It is. It speaks of where's the world at today. To 100% a reflection of that.
And that's why, again, with Office, it's this unflinching eye. It's not trying to guzzy it up. It's not trying to. It's not trying to give. It is a fantasy sometimes, but it's also not trying to feed you bullshit fantasy of, oh my God, this amazing car, this amazing life. Oh, my movie's coming out tomorrow. Kind of bullshit thing. It delivers it in a much, and I hate to overuse the word authentic, but it does a good job, excellent job at putting those elements together in a real way.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you. That is super important to us. Like to have that raw and real, authentic approach.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I think when I also wanted it to be a reflection of life, you know, like, and life is not fantasy, it's real, and it gets really real sometimes.
Right.
And why can't a fashion magazine reflect that? There's all kinds of sizes and backgrounds and upbringings out there that exist, and we can put that in a magazine too.
And I think that's also, for many reasons, why certain social media platforms are more successful than others. There's an authenticity of some, and then there's the aspirational bullshitty curated of some. And then those factors of where's the appetite for the general public? Are they tired of keeping up with the shit? Mm-hmm. Or do they want to just embrace it, warts and all, and still be like, I'm still fabulous with it?
Well, people like to dream. Yeah. They like to live in fantasy. You know, that's a default. That's like, let's not look at this over here. Let's look at what we made up over here. Look at the beautiful table and this food we have in front of us. Let's not look in the basement. Probably need to look in the basement, but let's look at this over here. It's also like an escape. It's for good or worse from reality. And I think like what Office wanted to be was something that could do both. Like you could fantasize about this world, but it was still real. Like it was still like something that actually existed or exists in the world right now. And not just talk about something that's like, yeah, unreal.
Well, Simon, I want to thank you for the time that we had today and this extended conversation that through just liking things and commenting and literally this is a true conversation that I value today. And I think that I really appreciate your time and I appreciate you. I really appreciate what you do and everything. It really is important.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate that. It's
Seriously, and thanks for trusting this kind of workshop we do.
I love
and
it.
everything.
No, I love it.
appreciate
I love it.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Yeah. And so Jordan's going to do a quick outro right here if we stand up.
Okay.
And then into our void. I'm sorry. How tall are you?
6'2", I think.
Hold on. Okay. That's very competitive with that. So I'm just going to say bye. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Simon Rasmussen.
So, thank you so much.
All right. Hey, all right, man. Thanks, Jordan.
Great.
Oh, not bad timing. Not bad timing. Sometimes you get in a void and I have no idea.